Up until now, we talked about Ethereum and its capabilities in smart contracts. One of the articles that I've assigned to you is one by Yaakov Anoch, who is a lawyer in a famous Israeli law firm, and he wrote an article about what smart contracts are and what are the legal implications of smart contracts. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what smart contracts are, and particularly this is important because the Ethereum network allows these smart contracts to exist and develop. So a smart contract essentially is a set of promises specified in digital form, which includes protocols under which the parties keep these promises. It was developed by Nick Szabos in 1996. However, smart contracts are not really smart, nor are they really contracts. So what are they actually? So let's think about what a contract is. A contract is a promise or performance given in exchange for a promise or performance. So it could be a promise given in exchange for a promise, or it could be a promise given in exchange for performance, or it could be a performance given in exchange for a promise. So this is programmed into the network in such a way that if A happens, say a performance, then B must happen by design, let's say a promise. So think about the vending machine where you could buy soda in your university. Is there a contract there? Is there a contract between you and the vending machine? And the answer is yes, there is a contract. The contract is that if I put some money in the machine, the specified amount that it says, then the machine should give me a Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola or whatever drink I want or whatever snack I want. So this is a contract in a sense. You agree to give money, and the machine agrees that if you put the right amount of money, it will bring out a can of soda. Now there is also, in addition to this direct promise for money for soda, there's also some implied contract in there. For example, you assume that whatever soda or sandwich or food that you get will not poison you, right? This is implied in the contract, that the product that you get is going to be a safe product to consume. So this is what is implied in the contract. And in all contracts, there is implied conditions. How does this happen? It happens through a legal system. And every country has developed a legal system that has a set of rules that are adjudicated by a court system and is followed and expanded over the years by the government. So in a sense, the state has an interest in your contract. There's no contracts that are devoid or exclude the state. The state wants to know what kind of contract is that, what is the effect of the contract, what is the terms of the contract, and how do I tax this contract? So there are conditions to any contract. Consider the following contract. I'll offer $10,000 to anyone who burns down my parents' house. So this could be a contract, but there's only one problem with this contract. It's illegal to burn your parents' house. So this contract is void by a court system in any country where burning people's home is not allowed. Whereas in the blockchain, the rules are extraterritorial, right? They don't actually necessarily exist in a given country. So in a sense, one of the problems of smart contracts is they don't necessarily take the state into account. What if I said, we'll offer you $50,000 to lobby Congress to pass a pro-crypto regulation? Well, here too, the state has very specific rules on who could be a lobby, who could lobby and who cannot lobby. Not everyone can lobby Congress. So you need to be registered lobby group or law group in order to be able to do that. So again, it's implied in the contract that whoever is doing this sort of lobbying is also allowed by the state to do lobbying. What about copyrights? If you think about copyrights, you have exclusive rights for life plus another 70 years, and these exclusive rights are only allowed to be broken by fair use in small scale, perhaps for educational reasons. But what if the smart contracts allows you to use the copyrights of someone else? Then in fact, the smart contract is an illegal contract. So the state is always in every contract, including any smart contract that comes out of the blockchain. For example, digital rights management. How do I ensure that the digital rights are respected in a variety of smart contracts? So is copyright something that is given in smart contracts? What is the aim of the contract? The aim of a contract is to eliminate risk? No, we never eliminate risk, in fact. The aim of a contract is to reallocate the risk. Consider the following examples. I will buy 10,000 bushels at X dollars per bushel delivered on September 1st. So we assign the price change risk. We allocate the potential risk of price changes from one member, from the buyer to the seller, or from the seller to the buyer. We also reallocate the delivery risk when the actual product will be delivered. So contracts are not about eliminating risk, but about reallocating risk. But allocation matters. Only if there is terminating system and a legal system that is fair and efficient courts. Contracts, regular contracts, can be broken. They can be broken by design. There should be a system which allows you to break a contract if you cannot meet the terms. And there should be a system of fair and efficient courts which will allow you to adjudicate the terms of the contracts. Whereas in smart contracts, it's almost impossible to break, because if A happens, then B must also happen, because it's already programmed into the blockchain. So if you think about it, what we're trying to do with Bitcoin is we want to eliminate the central bank and instead replace it with codes, okay, zeros and ones. And this is okay. This is especially useful to those countries which don't have strong legal institutions. So you could see that Bitcoin often succeeds in countries that don't have strong banking regulation, that don't have a strong banking system. And you could see, for example, that in Africa and in Latin America, many of these residents and countries adapt Bitcoin because of lack of very strong regulation and a lack of a good banking system. So there's some policy consideration that we should consider from the top. Authorities need to decide whether to isolate, regulate, or integrate these crypto assets into their associated activities. This was said by Mark Carney when he was governor of the Bank of England in March of 2018. Some of the global approach to crypto finance suggests that we need to guard against illicit activities, illegal activities, and that we need to ensure financial stability. We need to protect the investing public so that the ICOs or the different cryptocurrencies don't defraud people and steal people's money. There's also the issues of tax compliance. If you do make money on these various contracts, how do you pay the relevant tax? And of course, right now, when you open accounts, you have to identify yourself. You have to identify the activities in which you work in. When you go to the bank, you have to fill out many forms about who you are. These type of laws oftentimes don't exist in decentralized financial applications or in the various blockchain applications. There are some other challenges relating to illicit activities. For example, the fact that there's many addresses that are pseudonymous, meaning we don't know who it actually belongs to. It could belong to a terrorist organization or a criminal organization. There are also coins that on purpose mix the identity or hide the identity of the owners. There are also protocols that mix and scramble the identity so that it's very hard to find out who is the originator and who is the receiving party. So there are deep issues with these so-called smart contracts and dApps relating to compliance and reporting. And especially when it's crypto-to-crypto transactions on decentralized exchanges, which oftentimes are outside the purview of state actors. Other public policy issues might exist: financial stability. For example, what if everybody started using Bitcoin and no longer use the banking system? How can the government ensure that they can raise money through printing, for example? How can governments control capital flows? For example, when there is a currency crisis, governments may intervene by blocking people from sending money out or bringing money in. In the case of crypto, it's hard to control. So the blockchain market provides an infrastructure that is supranational, that really overcomes many of the national boundaries and therefore some of the laws that are inherent in different jurisdictions. The central bank in particular is concerned about its ability to manage the monetary system. For example, right now the central bank is trying to develop digital solutions so that those are called CBDC, and those include the type of digital currencies that are centralized rather than decentralized. So this requires changes to commercial banks' deposits and funding models. It might even allow individuals to hold accounts directly at the central bank rather than through the commercial banks, which means that the entire banking system could append and change. The effects are strong on credit allocation and the overall economy, on monetary policy, implementation and transmission, and the resilience of the open payment infrastructure. And it is designed to guard against illicit activity. So one of the solutions of the central banks against these DeFi and cryptocurrencies is to develop digital solutions that work with the current payment system and banking system. Crypto also has been marked by various frauds and scams, and we all heard of FTX, and we all heard of Binance, and many of the courts and the lawsuits that have ensued as a result. There are issues relating custodial arrangements on exchanges or on wallets. There's issues about definitions. Is a particular cryptocurrency a security, a commodity, or a derivative? There are issues relating the tracking, the ownership of crypto assets, and remediation of non-compliant ICOs and exchanges. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, there are issues relating personal data and privacy. So investor protection is a big issue for most countries, and it includes full and fair disclosure, fraud and deceptive sales practices, secondary markets that don't have the same level of transparency, and measures against manipulation. For example, advisors who have interests. Investors' protection bolsters the confidence in capital markets and is the reason that we have strong financial markets in the United States and other developed countries. For crypto markets to develop, these investor protections need to be developed and accepted by the crypto market actors in order for them to have the economic growth that they desire. We already mentioned before the Howey test. The Howey test is an example of how to decide whether a cryptocurrency is a security. Is it something that is an investment that you expect to get a profit from and is dependent on the efforts of others? Well, then it's a security and it's not a commodity. And this is an issue that we have discussed before and will be discussed in the future by various courts around the world. The big dust test says, when I see a bird that walks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, I call that bird a duck. And many of these so-called crypto projects seem like they are a security, behave like they're a security, and perhaps they are a security. And if they are a security, should they be regulated as a commodity like Bitcoin, or should they be regulated like a company, the same as a listed company on the stock exchanges?